All right. What's going on, guys? Chris here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the best camera settings for the Canon R5 for video shooters. Let's go. Okay guys, so we have the Canon R5 in front of us, and I'm going to just go through the settings I use most when making vlogs or cinematic videos or anything I want to shoot. I will show you how I do it. Now, so first things first is let's go to the menu and then go to page 1. This is the first page of the Canon menu. And as you can see, we have record quality. Now this depends really on the type of shoot. Anything I'm shooting in real time, I shoot at 4K HQ at 25 or 24 frames per second, and usually in IPB light like this. So I turn on the HQ mode, as you can see right here, and this just allows me to get the highest, sharpest quality 4K. It takes a really long time to overheat, so I'm never really worried about that. For anything when I'm shooting vlogging or anything real time, it'll be shot at 4K 24 frames per second in HQ mode. Now next thing, movie cropping. No, I don't do any movie cropping, I don't think ever. Sound recording, this depends on the microphone you have. I have it set to the lowest level in manual, and then I turn on the booster in the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus so that I get the best quality audio. Now on to page 2, exposure compensation, nothing. I don't change anything in any of these settings. Now on page 3, the white balance, obviously it depends on the situation, whatever you're shooting in. If you're indoors, or I just leave it on auto white balance, and then when I'm on set, I just determine whether I want it for daylight or tungsten or whatever I'm doing. The next thing I change is the log settings. Now obviously I do shoot in log, and I use Canon log 3. Canon log 3 is the most dynamic range you can get out of the R5 as of right now, and I pretty much shoot in this in 90% of the time. Now the view assist, I keep it off. The reason I keep the view assist off is because the view assist does not really compensate for the exposure on C-Log 3, and as of right now, if you use the view assist, you'll probably underexpose your shots. When you use the view assist, you're definitely going to need to use a histogram to make sure you're exposing correctly, or else you'll introduce a lot of noise. So what I do is I just turn the view assist completely off and judge the exposure based on the screen. Fortunately, C-Log 3 still has a little bit of color in it, so it's not that hard. In terms of characteristics, 0, 0, 0, I don't change any of that, and color space, BT 709. Now there really aren't any important settings around here, but once you get to page number 7, you have image stabilization. I have IBIS on the camera currently. It depends on the shoot, because I know that it does have IBIS wobble with really wide angle lenses, but 99% of the time the IS is turned on and the digital IS is turned off. Now at this point, let's go onto the screen and see what we have. Now, obviously with the info button, you can toggle what kind of settings show up on your screen. I usually leave it on about this one or this one, depending if I'm recording audio or not. Now, if we hit the Q button right here or on the screen up here, it allows us to change some of the settings. Autofocus, I always have eye tracking autofocus on at all times. So when I'm vlogging or shooting any subject, it locks on the eye perfectly. Here, again, you can change your video record quality if you ever need to. Below, audio record quality, headphone volume. I don't really plug headphones into the camera, so I don't really need to worry about this, but if you do plug in headphones, this is where you adjust the volume. And then over you have digital IS. If I need to add digital IS, I will turn it on, but in most cases the IBIS works perfectly fine. And then next up we have the card. Now this is important. I will jump between card 1 and card 2. Card 1 is the CF Express Type B card, which is required for shooting 4K 120 or 8K. Everything else I use a regular SD card for, and that's SD card slot 2. So I'll try to save as much space as I can on card 1 if I'm mixing vlogging with cinematic stuff, and whenever I want to shoot 4K 120, I'll switch to this card to get that quality. And again, you can change the white balance here if you need to. You can go through the settings like this. I usually keep it on daylight or auto white balance. Now below, you can control your shutter speed. This is your shutter speed. I have it always set to 1/50th of a second because that is the correct shutter speed for 25 frames per second video. Aperture depends on the lens, depends on the shot, but usually I keep it as open as possible, whether it's 2.8 or 1.4. Again, it depends on the lens. Now ISO, I'll do almost any ISO on this camera except anything below 800, because 800 is the base or native ISO of the camera when shooting C-Log 3. So this is the minimum ISO you can use to get the most dynamic range. Anything below, you'll see a little L next to the ISO, and you really want to avoid shooting at any of these ISOs. So the minimum ISO I'll shoot at is 800. And that's pretty much it for the main settings. Now I do have custom functions, and the way you set a custom function is you set up your settings in any mode, and then you press menu, you go to the little wrench here, and then you go to page number 5, and then you can go to custom shooting mode and then register settings, and you can pick which custom shooting mode you want to save the setting to. And what I have set is for custom 1, I pretty much have whatever I'm going to be using for vlogging or real-time shooting. As you can see, I have it on auto ISO, but then again, I do have the limiter so it doesn't go below 800. And my exposure compensation is set to a stop and 2/3 overexposed. Shooting in auto ISO, this gives me pretty much proper exposure. And this is basically my vlog settings or real-time shooting. 4K 25 frames per second in IPB compressed. This is the 4K HQ, face detecting autofocus IBIS, card 1, and daylight shooting. And this is pretty much what I use for any real-time shooting. And then in custom 2, I have whatever I'm going to be shooting at 120 frames per second, or in this case 100 frames per second, because I am shooting in NTSC. And as you can see, my shutter speed automatically adjusts to 200, which is double my frame rate. And then the ISO is at 800 again. I just leave it there, and in case I want to change it, I can just spin this wheel and adjust for the exposure. Now for custom 3, I don't really have it set to anything because I don't really use it that much. What I do often is set custom 3 to be 4K at 100 frames per second, but without C-Log 3. And where I use this is whenever I'm shooting in low light. When shooting in C-Log 3, your maximum ISO is 12,800, but when you turn C-Log 3 off, you can bring it to 25,600. So the camera is way better in low light. It's also way less noisy. So when I'm shooting in really dark conditions and I want slow motion, which actually happens pretty often, I shoot it without any C-Log, just directly in the standard mode. So that's pretty much it. These are the video settings I use for the Canon R5. The image quality of this camera is fantastic, and if you use these settings, I promise you'll get beautiful quality video. So hopefully this video was helpful for you. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next video, all right? Peace.